Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe. Forward into battle, see his banners go. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Oh, for a faith that will not shrink, though pressed by every foe, that will not tremble on the brink of any earthly woe, that will not murmur or complain beneath a chastening rod, but in the hour of grief or pain will lean upon its God. A faith that shines more bright and clear when tempests rage without, that when in danger knows no fear, in darkness feels no doubt. Lord, give us such a faith as this, and then whate'er may come, we'll taste and hear the hallowed bliss of an eternal home. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Oh, may it all my powers engage to do my Master's will. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and O thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give. Help me to watch and pray, and on thyself rely, assured if I my trust betray, I shall forever die. Rise up, O man of God, have done with lesser things, give heart and mind and soul and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O man of God, his kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O man of God, the church for you doth wait, her strength unequal to her task. Rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ, tread where his feet have trod, as brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God.
Good evening.
Let's edify.
And what's our third trio tonight?
I guess you're playing him right now.
The Saints of Professionalism and Shenanigans. Wait a minute. That's not what he says, though.
No, that's what you say. You already said what he says.
Uh, he's,
He's out like a light.
uh,
He's had a very rough day today. He blew I don't know how many loads of insulation into a wall and carried like 27 sheets of drywall into the house where he's working construction this week. So
got it.
he's
So,
pooped it.
we're just doing chapters 4 and 5 tonight.
Yes.
Right? That'll be good.
So it's just you and me.
Good evening. I was starting to get worried.
That's my fault because of a certain project that we started yesterday evening, and we had our little staff meeting about yesterday evening. Um, I must apologize, but um, when that comes upon me, I must act. I get wrapped up in it.
That's right.
I get to be totally fair when it comes to artisticness. Once I get moved to something, I lose all sight and sound of everything else. So they had to literally come in there and go, you're supposed to be live here." And I look at my watch. I've got a few minutes. Keep working, and um, then all of a sudden a whole bunch of dings came along and they said, "You are supposed to be live now." I look at my clock. Oh. So hello Reba, hello Carol, hello Heather.
Yes, I hope you're okay. I'm gonna start, and if you're not, I hope you make it, but if not, I'll just do it.
Well, it is okay if you ever do that, especially seeing how someone didn't stall for me this morning. He was stalling so well he stalled himself.
Sorry. Well, hello.
Oh, if you feel up to singing a song, go ahead and do so. My voice is kind of scratchy, and I think it's because we are on a swing upward in the weather. We're going to go from negative, or not negative, but from the teens all the way up to 80 degrees by Saturday. So,
Yeah. But
and one of our drivers has been fighting illness that the little crumb crunchers gave us or gave him, and he's been happy to share it around. Hello, Stephanie. We've missed you as well.
well,
Oh man, you have a full plate, my sister. Working in the elementary school, still operating our own business. Yeah. Now, if you could just figure out how to sit at the computer in the elementary school and operate your own business and get paid for both. You know, hmm, there might be something to that. Bedroom supposed to be wrapped in those wraps, Shua.
night with Eben Pinion.
Ooh, I don't even need the book for that one.
How? Oh, you already covered that. I'm sorry. I was in my moment trying to get Micah for I had my notes from Micah 6. I thought it was 4, 5, 6.
Even if it was 4, 5, and 6, 6 was mine because
What?
I started last week. You were supposed to do 4.
Got it.
We covered this last week, you know.
It's been a week. I should have written it down.
Yeah, it has been a week, 7 days.
Yeah,
Amazingly enough, that makes a week. Just like spending time away from God's Word makes 1 week.
that's right. Night with ebon pinion, brooded o'er the vale. All around it was silent, save the night winds wailing and sorrow. Sing forth, your treading the corner, raise his voice, the smith son. I messed up a word. Smitten for offenses, which were not his own. He and how to be no friend no one when he holy humbly bow in prayer. Abba, Father, yes,
This now
house of life will yet be suffered by me alone. Abba, Father, Father, let thy will be done. I think we ought to get started since we're so late
It might be a night. Well, I thought we already started.
with the study.
Oh. Hmm.
Study sends greetings to Reba. Reba sends greetings to Stephanie, and Carol says, God bless you, sister.
It's really difficult when you have your plate full.
It is. Alright, so we will be in the book of Micah, continuing our. Will that be
Ebon pinion. Ebon is a color. It means black. It's a very dark black. It's from what we get the word ebony. So if you think of ebony, it's a very black wood, very dark. Um, a deep, deep black, as a matter of fact. And pinion means wings. So what is pinion? Ebon pinion, black wings. So night with dark or black or foreboding wings. And it speaks to the idea that the shadow of death, as it were, the specter of death in the garden, that it has reared its head for Jesus, because he is sitting there, he is in anguish of spirit as he prays. And so this dark night, this night of foreboding, this night stretches its wings over him and provides a lot of anguish of spirit. And so um, you see that anguish come out as the song progresses.
Right.
Night with ebon pinion brooded o'er the vale. And you see that the darkness, the deep pitch black, both in a mental or spiritual sense as well as in a physical sense. It's dark wings. It's all black, and it's like it's really still in the garden. You feel you might have felt some of these nights where you walk out the door and it's just absolutely still. Air is heavy, and you walk out and you're like, what is going on? What's happening? Night with ebon pinion brooded over the vale. Of course, vale means valley. All around was silent. And then you hear the night winds wail. When Christ, the man of sorrows, in tears and sweat as blood, prostrate in the garden, raised his voice to God. And it evokes a very strong, at least in me, it evokes a very strong mental picture of our Savior as he is bowed in prayer and begging God, if it may, let this cup pass from me. And the surrender, nevertheless, not my will, but thine.
And the melody really matches the lyrics on that song.
It does. It does. And, you know, you may have noticed that when I sing it, I try to evoke that same emotion. But and even when I lead it, I do for the congregation. So I usually have a softer, deeper pitch to my voice when I'm leading that song to evince that emotion of a dark veil, a dark night.
Right.
And then when you hear the wail, my voice takes on that wailish tone. Um, then you have no friend with words to comfort, no hand to help was there. Oh, wait, I missed the start of the verse. Smitten for offenses which were not his own. He for our transgressions had to weep alone. No friend with words to comfort, nor hand to help was there, when the meek and lowly humbly bowed in prayer. And then on that last verse, you hear the beseeching quality of Christ as he goes, Abba, Father, Father, if indeed it may, let this cup of anguish pass from me, I pray. Yet, if it must be suffered by me, thine only Son, Abba, Father, Father, let thy will be done. Night, night. Sleep tight. Sweet dreams. Love you. What? Yeah, you didn't get all three words. Or both words. You didn't get all three syllables. Full rest. There you go. God Bless. Night. Night. Good night, everyone. God bless. Night. Reba says, night, night, sweet girls. God bless. Carol says, night, sweetie. Good night. Good night, sweetie. So Heather says, powerful song. You're right. And it has been my absolute favorite communion song because of how much it evokes in me anyway.
So we are going to be in the book of Micah as would you call this a survey through the minor prophets?
You might call it a survey in its basic form, I suppose.
Yeah. We're surveying through the minor prophets. And we are going to be looking at Micah 4. I'll be doing Micah 4. Levi will be doing Micah 5.
To bring us up to date, kind of as a short recap, we had Micah 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and then
4. We in Micah chapter 1, God pronounced a judgment on Samaria, which represents the northern kingdom, as well as on Judah for their transgressions and their running after idols. And in chapter 1, verse 15 was our key verse. Yet I will bring an heir unto thee, O inhabitant of Mareshah. He shall come unto Adullam, the glory of Israel. And we're looking kind of, there was two ways to take this, either as a conqueror or as a prophecy of Christ, or both. But it is basically someone who takes possession of Mareshah and Adullam. Chapter 2, which CJ did last week, was talking about how Israel, the northern kingdom, oppressed the people. And
do you remember what verses?
I forgot to mark mine when you did yours.
12 and 13.
12 and 13 was our key verses. Assembling, O Jacob, all of thee, I will surely gather the remnant of Israel, put them together with the sheep of Bosra, as the flock in the midst of the fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. The breaker has come up, or destroyer has come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it. Their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. So it's again prophecy of the return of Israel. Really, the return of Israel to greatness, the return of Israel to the land, and essentially the King, the Lord's coming. Chapter 3, which Hosea did, dealt with more so, I think, the I want to say false prophets. Yes, the false prophets, the false priests. And I believe, as I recall, he had verse 12 as his key verse. Therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountains of the house as the high places of the forest. Talking about how it was going to be wasted. And he cross-referenced that with Jeremiah chapter 26, verses 18 and 19, which mentions this prophecy of Micah by name.
Right.
So, and I think that was also in somewhat of the fulfillment of that prophecy. But we're going to turn it over now to CJ as we learn some new things from chapter 4.
Right. In chapter 4, there is, and I have it on my points on the screen. The highlighted portion is a key portion, key verses, and
Is
verses
that the important verses, or is there one key verse?
1 to 3 is my key verse.
Oh, we were
Because
only supposed to literally have one key verse.
I had 2 last week.
Well, I can't help it. You keep departing from the standard. False teacher.
Wow! Alright.
Anyway, 1 through 3, you say? Well,
Yeah.
that covers the whole of your chapter. What are you talking about? Oh, wait. No, it is more than 3 verses.
No, it doesn't. So in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law will go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he will judge many peoples and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So there's going to come a time in verses 1 through 3 that the Lord's house will be established, and this is in reference to the church, the kingdom, because this is directly correlated with the nations flowing unto the house of the Lord. It's going to be a time of peace, as we see directly correlated in Ephesians chapter 2, where God has sent Jesus to bring peace between the Jew and the Gentile. And so we see that this is going to uh, be a time of peace, because he says, Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, and they're going to beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. This is fulfilled when Jew and Gentile come together ultimately in Christ, as Paul talks about in Ephesians. And recently, on Monday nights, we saw the start of that. We're beginning to see that happening in the book of Acts, in that study on Monday nights, where Jew and Gentile are coming together. So we're beginning to see this prophecy in Micah. Nations are going to flow up to the mountain. Now that's also an interesting image, because normally, what do you have in a river? You normally uh do you normally float up the river or fall down the river?
I usually fall flat on my face.
Ah, well, normally if you're heading upstream, it's harder than going downstream. And so this is going to be a kingdom that is going to be going up. You're going to have, I don't want to stretch the image too far, but it's going to be a little challenging, but nations are flowing up to uh, up to the mountain of the Lord, and that speaks to the fact that they're going to have to overcome some challenges, and if we uh, move on in Micah chapter 4 here in verse 4, it talks about more uh, what will happen when this nation goes up to Zion. It'll be a time of prosperity, verse 4. They shall set every man under his vine and under his fig tree. None shall make them afraid. It'll uh, be a time where the people will walk in the name of his God, and and, and we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. So that's kind of the upstream. There are people going to walk after their gods, but it'll be a time where these nations are going to flow and walk into the name of God, of, our, of their God forever and ever. And he is just going on here. In that day I will assemble her that halted her. I will gather her that is driven out, her that I have afflicted. Israel has been afflicted. Israel has been judged. But in this new kingdom, in this new image, God reconciles them that he has hurt and brought them in one in Christ. And so, verse 10, uh, be in pain and labor to go bring forth a daughter of Zion like a woman in travail, for thou shalt, for thou, for now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. This is going to happen in spite of Israel going to Babylon. God is going to do this out of Babylon. He's going to bring his people back and do this. And so this is what we see in the message of the prophets as a whole. I'm going to bring you back. And ultimately, every one of these uh, prophets, with the exception of a few, points to this coming kingdom, this united nation under Jesus. Now also many nations, verse 11, are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let her eye look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of the Lord. They can't foil the plans of the Lord. Neither understand they his counsel. That's not God's plan. And notice the end result. Rise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thee horn iron, and I will make thee hoof brass. The idea is, I'm going to make them strong again. A horn iron is strong. Hoof that's made out of brass. And look what they're going to be able to do with that. Thou shalt beat in peace as many peoples, and I will consecrate their grain unto the Lord, and the substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. Despite the mockings, despite the evil that has been plotted among the nations, he's going to redeem Israel, verse 10. He's going to beat in pieces many peoples to make that happen. He's going to judge the nations, and ultimately he will have this everlasting kingdom. And that kingdom is the kingdom that Daniel prophesied about in Daniel 2. The kingdom that will break apart all of the gold, clay, silver, bronze, all those in the statue, the rock that goes and knocks down Nebuchadnezzar's statue in Daniel 2 also expands in the whole earth, and that's what we're seeing there. And the substance of the Lord of the whole earth. I will consecrate them, I'm going to make them special, and they're going to rule.
Regarding verse 1, talking about how the people shall flow unto the mountain of the Lord. The idea that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established is actually showing its supremacy, not its location. The idea of the mountain of the house, Lord, its supremacy, it's above everything else. Just like Jerusalem was set on a hill.
Right.
And so everybody had to go up. It was showing that it was supreme, or it was better. Um, the people shall flow on. Have you ever seen a sea of people?
Mm, well, I don't know what you mean there. Like a big crowd?
I'm talking like thousands of people at one place and one time.
Probably the biggest would be on TV on New Year's Eve.
Mhm. You see what such a massive humanity there,
Right.
and they're all going usually in one direction. Very rarely will you see people going the opposite direction than the majority of the crowd. And what you have is similar to what my dad experienced over in Khabarovsk, Russia, back in '93. He was, it might have been '92, but anyway, right back in the early '90s, he was in a mission trip to Khabarovsk. That was just after the nation had been opened for missionaries. And he went to get on public transportation. He describes it as he approached the door of the bus. He remembers raising his foot, and the next thing he knew, he was at the top of the steps
Huh.
because the press of everyone behind him literally picked him up and moved him to the top of the bus without him having to to walk the steps, in essence. And he describes that, and as now I know what those pigs felt like when I got them into the chute and was loading them to take to the slaughter into the trailer, because what would happen is you would have one pig blocked the entire chute trying to get back. He didn't want to go. But you have the rearmost pig trying to get forward, and generally the farmer would snap the whip or pop it with an electric shock, and that pig would get it in his mind that I am gonna go. I don't care who or what's in front of me. And the next thing you know, that chute was entirely clear of all sorts of pigs, and they were all in the trailer because that one pig got it in his head to move everything out of his way. And this is kind of similar to the idea of all people shall flow unto it, not the idea of a river going uphill, but rather that it is such a desirable place that everybody wants to be there. Everybody's beating down the path. They're beating down the door to get in. It's a massive city. It's a city that will accept all who come to it on its terms, but it's not going to be an exclusive to one nation as the law of Moses was, as the covenant was. So when God set up this kingdom, this new kingdom, it was going to include people of all nations rather than just one. And that's kind of the connotation here: the people shall flow unto it. Okay. It's not necessarily flowing upstream, it's going to be flowing to it, coming to it on a sea of humanity, if you will. Hello, Sister Love. I just wanted to bring that one out.
Well,
those 2 points, because it is important to understand that the new kingdom that he's talking about here is supreme. It's above everything. And then that he is, in this prophecy, he is also stating essentially what Peter stated in Acts chapter 10. Of a truth, I perceive that God is not a respecter of persons.
right.
You know, and that's the idea. The people shall flow unto it. It also puts the idea of every single earthly kingdom is the hills that the kingdom is exalted above in verse 1. So
okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that also a prophecy that is said exactly the same in Isaiah?
Oh, bro. Yeah, Isaiah 2:2.
Isaiah chapter 2 and verse, there's actually 4 verses in that. It's not just one, right? Yes.
Yeah.
2 through 4. 2 through 4. So if you want to cross-reference that, do that. Cross-reference Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 through 4 as for this passage.
So you're saying that? Well, I thought it was significant that they had to flow up onto it.
Mm-mm. No. It's not that they're flowing up, because you notice that the word up is not included in here. Even the
is in verse 2. It's on top of the mountains. If you're flowing to it, which direction are you going? You're going
it says flowing unto, and then he says, "Come, let us go up." So we're going up, but we're not flowing up. Does that make a difference? Does that make sense? In other words, in verse 2, the nations are encouraging one another to go to the house of the Lord.
What verse? Oh wait, are you in Isaiah or
No,
Micah?
I'm in back in Micah.
Micah.
It's essentially the same prophecy that God puts in Isaiah. It's literally almost word for word.
Why is this not? Oh, I'm in Micah 6. I was about to say, what in the world happened?
You went to Micah 6. The idea, though, is that
The people are going to flow unto it.
flow unto it. That means they're going to come to it in droves. How they get there, whether they walk, run, take a bicycle, or fly an airplane, is immaterial. But they say that they encourage one another, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. In other words, God's kingdom is so supreme that people want to go there.
Right,
Isn't that why you and I became Christians?
that's right.
And isn't Christ's kingdom far surpassing everything else here on this earth?
Yes,
So, do we walk up to, are we flowing up to the kingdom? We're already members. How did we become members? God translated us.
right.
You know what another word for translated is?
Conveyed. What?
Teleported.
Well, that's cool. Anyways, so I just got the idea that it was flowing up like water because it's on the top of the mountains and it says the people shall flow unto it when they say, come let us go up. So they're going up and they're flowing into it. So that
hmm
will give me the image of water flowing up to the mountain.
But remember, are we talking about a physical kingdom or a spiritual?
Spiritual.
So would it be? Would you use? Um, well, how would you describe this kingdom in physical sense, in physical words? Kind of like what Micah did here.
Right? It's somewhere high and you have to go up to do it.
Well, because it is so supreme, you have to go up to it.
Right?
But is it the sense of water flowing uphill or us walking and as a spiritual walk? Because notice that in our race, in the Christian life, it never once compared to a river. It's a race, it's a walk. We're running.
Well, wouldn't that
We're
be
not paddling. We're not paddling. We lost the paddle a long time ago.
wouldn't that be begging the question though? Because it's saying you're going to it, and all those passages are for Christians that are in it.
hmm Well, ultimately, we go up to the house of the God of Jacob.
Right?
What is the house of the God of Jacob?
Heaven.
In one way,
Or God's presence in another way.
mm, what do we become every Sunday?
The house,
House of what?
God.
The house
Eph-
of the God of Jacob.
Ephesians 2.
First Peter chapter 2.
Right.
So how do we go to the house of God? How do we go to the house of the God of Jacob? We become the house of God. But ultimately remember that we cannot, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom.
Right.
So, like Acts chapter 2 says, God added to the church daily such as should be saved, such as we're being saved. God has translated us, moved us from this world of darkness into the kingdom of his dear Son. So, in essence, we came to the house of the God of Jacob, and he moved us into that kingdom. So, one might say we beat a path to that door. Another might say Jesus is the way, and there's only one gate.
One man wide.
Right?
I love that analogy. We have not made an exact meme about that, have we?
Probably not. We've kind of touched on it in one or two of our memes, but
Anyways,
let's get on to Micah chapter 5. I love Micah chapter 4 because of the fact that it carries that prophecy of the coming of the kingdom. Ezra, you got Matthew or Micah 5? You know Ezra is on tech, or he was. Wake up, O sleeper, rise from the dead. I've tried that on O'Shea. He just turns over and goes. All right, in Micah chapter 5, we have again prophecy. Imagine that. A prophet is giving prophecy. How unique. But in verses 1 through 6, what we really have is the idea of it's kind of carrying on the idea that CJ left us with in chapter 4, and that is the victor, and that he's going to be coming. We see this in such imagery as verse 4: he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide for now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. We see it in verse 5: and this man shall be peace, and they shall waste the land of Assyria. Let's hear. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. So there's a victor, someone who's going to give victory. What is important in this chapter is found actually in our key verse, which is verse 2. So as we look at verse 2, you might recognize this. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is, to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. There is only one individual who has been from old, or from of old. There is only one individual who has been from everlasting. And there has only been that one person has only ever came from Bethlehem, out of Judea, or out of Judah. And that, of course, we know is Christ. So our key phrase, our key verse is verse 2. This is the passage, one of the passages that the chief priests brought to Herod to give to the wise men. This is how they found out, one of the passages they found out, that Christ was going to be born in Bethlehem. Because thou, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me. That is to be the ruler in Israel. Remember, the wise men came to Herod, saying, "Where is he that is born the King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east." And so Herod inquired of the chief priest. The chief priest brought back their report and said, "Bethlehem." So isn't that a cool one? CJ's busy typing. I'm anxious to see what his comment is before I move on. But that is actually the key verse of this whole entire chapter. Maybe he'll actually give me the passage for that. I bet you that's what he's working on. Now, verses 7 through the end of the chapter switches a wee bit of a gear, and we deal here with the humbling of Judah, or the humbling of Israel, and yet their coming victory. For we see in verses 7 and 8 and 9 that the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles. Well, when did that happen? We know that God forcefully removed Israel by the hand of the Assyrians. We know that God forcefully removed Judah by the hand of the Babylonians. And the Babylonians took the remnant and moved them to Babylon and spread them throughout the Babylonian Empire. So they were among the Gentiles. And yet, let's read verse 8 as another important verse, if Ezra will move us over there. 7 starts off by saying that the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord. Well, and then he says the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. You misspelled chief and priest. Where do we see this imagery of the young lion?
When you talk about Revelation, the Lion of Judah?
Nope.
Oh, are you talking about the Isaiah 11? The young lion will lay down with the kid and the child shall lead them?
Nope, older than that.
Go ahead, tell us.
And you wanted to do Genesis.
Oh.
Genesis 49, verses 9 and 10. Essentially, 8 through 11, or 8 through 12 happens to be a prophecy and a blessing upon Judah. But in 9, Judah is a lion's whelp.
That's right.
From the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So what we see here um, is that Judah is a lion's whelp, and the remnant of Jacob is going to be like a lion amidst the beasts of the forest, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces. He's a lot of the same imagery here. And Judah is part of the remnant of Jacob. So, yes, in one way, you could look at the Lion of Judah in Revelation, but that's referring to Jesus specifically. Judah himself is considered a lion's whelp. And the remnant of Jacob, seeing how the two tribes of Judah and was it Benjamin? No, Judah and I forget who the other one was. Remained the Lord's. They remained as the southern kingdom.
Was it Judah and no, Levi didn't get a tribe.
Levi was a tribe, but he was the Lord's. It's possible that he meant the Levites, because remember that Jeroboam thrust the Levites out from their service as priests.
I thought Levi didn't get a land. They were
He didn't get land, he got cities,
yeah, that's right.
including the cities of refuge, and I'm sure that he maintained those cities of refuge, even though Jeroboam thrust him out of being priest. So there's either Judah and Benjamin, or Judah and what's the one that starts with an R?
Reuben.
Reuben was in the midst of Judah.
And you want to teach Genesis. Oh, look at us burning each other now.
I knew it started with an R.
Touche.
All right. Oh man, we see that's the shenanigans coming out here. Okay, so I wanted to put Nate as one of the important verses in Micah chapter 5, and then from verses 10 through 15, what we see is God talking about how He's going to pull out all that is evil, all that is against the law of God from out of that remnant. He talks about cutting off your horses out of the midst of thee and destroy your chariots. They trusted too much in their horses and chariots. And when God specifically told them not to have many of either, yet Solomon amassed a great amount, and the kings kept amassing. He said, I will cut off the cities of thy land and throw down all thy strongholds. They placed their confidence in their strength and the strength of their walls will never be breached. I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. They had turned to that which God condemned. 13, thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee. And thou shalt no more worship the work of thy hands. They had broken the second commandment. Well, actually, the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other God before me. Second one, thou shalt not make any graven image. And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so I will destroy thy cities. Here again, we see what was the groves for. The groves were their places of worship of the goddess Ashtarti, or Ashtaroth.
Interesting. Sorry. Interesting to note. The in mine it says, verse 14, the NKJV says, pluck up your wooden images.
Footnote on mine says idols instead of groves.
So is that did you say it was the places of the idols?
Typically groves, when it talks about groves in the Old Testament, is talking about the places wherein they worshipped the goddess of fertility, Ashtarte or Ashtaroth.
So it's condemning the
Idol worship of the goddess of fertility.
Are they condemning the place where the worship's done or the worship? Both.
Both.
Okay.
Remember that the priests of these idols, the Israelites, had taken and essentially converted almost every street corner into idolatry worship in Jerusalem at one or two points in their history. And you notice that in the good king, when the good kings reigned, they ripped down and removed these altars, but most of them didn't go far enough in removing all the groves.
Right.
I think Josiah was one that did, if I remember correctly. It was Josiah or maybe Hezekiah. Anyway, and then verse 15, I will execute judgment or execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. And what we see is God, after having purged his land and purged his people, he gives victory.
Amen.
And so there we have our Micah chapters 4 and 5.
It was a good study.
It is. And we can learn a lot from these. Oh, look, Reba woke up. I don't know if you put her to sleep or I did. But we can learn a lot from just from the prophecies of what was going on right around them. And it's fascinating to also note that God has not changed. What he required of man from the creation, he still requires of man to this day. What he asks of man at creation is what he asks of man to this day.
Right.
Love me enough to obey me. Just like our parents want us to do. Just like we want our children to do. Reba said, I did. I called it. She is, after all, one of the sleeping sister sororities.
We apologize. It's a bit later tonight.
Yeah, that's my fault because I have an exciting new, not that big change in the works for next week. And I've been working on it. So look for that small little change. Oh, and that reminds me, as well as CJ, that we were going to have a gospel edification meeting for the next 3 days, but when we got to looking at what we had ready and where we needed to go, we decided to put it off 1 week. And so we will begin next week with night 1 of our gospel edification meeting. This will be, I think, is it our third or is it our second lesson in the Faith Hall of Fame series?
Third, we did Joseph, Daniel, and now
And just Joseph and Daniel. We're not going to spill the beans yet. Promo's not ready. So we're going to begin our third lesson, a series of lessons on our Faith Hall of Fame. And we hope that you'll be able to join us
Right.
next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for or evening edification, gospel edification meeting.
So as a result, this study will not continue next week, but the week after.
Right.
And Young Brothers will not happen on Friday. But we'll still have the Romans class
On Saturday.
on Saturday.
So, with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way,
Actually, yeah, we might need to talk about that. We might not even have that because I might go to a party. A seasonal party.
shirking his duty for fun. He
What?
sounds like the prodigal son.
Well, what can I say?
That rhyme was totally unintentional.
Now your next follow-up line needs to rhyme with unintentional.
You mean unintentional?
What?
I said unintentional.
Yeah. Now your next sentence needs to rhyme with unintentional. And your rhymes are unconventional.
That's true. They are indeed unconventional.
Hello?
But they are also observational.
Oh no, we're getting bad. Uh,
That makes us all so sad.
Are we tired yet? Yes, we are.
Honey, I've been tired since 5 o'clock this morning. I haven't stopped being tired yet.
But we're not upset. I did it.
But we are tired, oh yes, you bet.
How about we do Take My Life and Let It Be?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Go ahead, buddy.
Take my life and let it be consecrated.
Lord, to thee,
Take
take my hands.
and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Is that not the one?
Your tune's a little bit off, and I think you started with a different verse than the one I'm familiar with.
Oh,
Take my life and let it be. Hang on, let me see if it might be the second one, because there's two versions of that song. So you might be singing the second one.
I might just be singing the second one wrong. Francis
Havergal is the one that wrote the words. One version is set to Mozart's, and the other one's set to Yarborough.
Mozart.
Okay. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my voice and let me sing always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou shalt choose. How many verses do you have?
I have 5.
I have 6.
So you are on my will, right? No.
Yep, I have my will and my love. Take my will and make it thine. It shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own. It shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. Take my self and I will be ever only all for thee. Same words, but the different tune for Yarbrough is take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, for thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise.
Got it. That's the one I'm familiar with. I don't know if I have both versions in here or not.
Both of them are very pretty in their own right.
Yeah.
Um, and they obviously say the same thing. It's just um, both of them, like I said, is very pretty in their own right.
But huh?
Mozart was an amazing, amazing composer. Do you know he was playing at court by 7? He was composing his own music by 7 years of age.
Whoa.
He died young, very young. But he was melodically gifted. He was a genius when it comes to composing.
Is the other one by R.M. McIntosh?
No, it was Yarborough.
No, I don't have it.
What is your said what?
Macintosh? Mi- Sorry, I'm prolonging the stream. I love being with y'all. Hope you do like being with us. Can you see that? I don't know.
Oh, Yarborough is from Mackintosh and Cunningham's New Life, 1879, arranged by Rigdon M. Mackintosh, 1879. So
Uh,
Yarborough is the one. The Mackintosh is the one that you are talking about. So,
so we're talking about the same one.
yeah, Yarborough is Mackintosh.
I got it.
And when you see the MC like that, it is actually Mackintosh.
Let's
It's
see.
a Scottish rendition. I mean, it's a Scottish name. They just simply shortened it by dropping the A.
I got it. Take, take me back. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Well, thank you all for joining us. It's been a blast. I hope you enjoyed the study. I sure did. And I'll enjoy our meeting next week. But thank you all for joining us. And we have three things we want to see. We want to glorify God. We want to edify the saints. We want to answer any spiritual questions you may have. We hope that you have been edified, as that is our purpose and our goal. I sure have, and I think I can speak for Levi and say he has. Thank you all, and God bless.
we can both speak for O'Shea because he's not here. He's been edified. Rebus says, now that all has been said, I think it must be time for bed. That came off better than a loaf of bread, Reba. We hope that you will have been encouraged to a greater and more faithful service, walk with the King uh, for tomorrow. We want to say thank you also for making this stream possible by your words of encouragement, by your presence here. And if we have in any way helped you, we have accomplished our task because we want to see you get to heaven. So if you are walking closer to the King because of our efforts, we have succeeded. So we want to definitely encourage you tomorrow as you meditate on this tonight. Walk closer with the King. That way, whether we wake tomorrow to serve him here on this earth, or we wake up there tomorrow to serve him where we all long to be, you know where